Hi everyone, welcome to HTML Bootcamp session 9. So today we are going to discuss about CSS. I know this is not the topic here, but you should know some basic structure of CSS because in next video you will be using different kind of themes. So in the earlier videos also we have seen different attribute like style, and that was a CSS style element. So it's better to understand basic what does CSS mean. So CSS is generally a language that describe the style of an HTML document. CSS generally describe how HTML element are to be displayed on the screen or on any media. And I can definitely say is that CSS saves a lot of work. It can control the layout of multiple web pages all at once. And if I say if I go here and if I say this particular thing, save, open in browser, now the color are getting changed. So generally CSS can be added to HTML element in three ways. One is by inline, second is by internal, and third is by external. So external we will be not be seeing in this tutorial or in this bootcamp because it's completely different and we don't want to deep dive into CSS. But inline, how you can define an inline element. So let's see that particular thing. An inline CSS is used to apply a unique style to a single HTML element. So if I write h1 and if I write anything that this is a normal text, save, open in browser. Now can you see this is a normal text. Now what I am saying, an inline CSS is used to apply a unique style to a single HTML element, a single HTML element style will get changed. An inline CSS uses the style attribute of an HTML element. So what it's going to use? It's going to use the style attribute. So like the earlier one which we see, style, then I can say color is equal to blue. Save, refresh. Now the color is blue. Can you see? So inline CSS, what it's doing? It's applying a style to a single HTML element. If I am writing again h1 and again I am writing something that this is second text, and then I am writing again h1, save, open in browser. Can you see? Nothing is getting applied here. So in inline CSS, why it's not much useful? Because it's generally going to apply a style to a particular single HTML element. Now if I want to apply it to the multiple HTML element, so take an example here, it is h1 tag, and now I want to apply, I'm removing everything from here, save. I will just show you how it look like. This is a normal text, this is a second text. It looks like a simple pretty ordinary text. Now I want to apply color blue to this both h1 element. I am not going to write individual thing. So what I am going to do, I am going to use external CSS. An external CSS is used to define a style for a single HTML page. So let me show you how it works. So we generally write something in head section. So there is a tag called style. Under style, so I will remove this particular thing. This is not for this topic. So under style, I'm writing what I want to do. I want to change the color of this h1 tag as a blue. So I will write h1 then I will open my braces, then I will write here color equal to blue. Save. Let's see what will happen. Can you see? Now all the h1 tag, if I write a new h1 tag, so if I write a new h1 tag, h1 Ankit Sharma, open in browser, it's also there in blue. I can directly change it red here. Can you see? So this is the magic of internal CSS. So we have seen earlier inline CSS, which can only be applied to a single HTML tag. We have seen internal CSS, which can be applied to a single HTML page. So if I am writing h1, then anything can be changed. So if I write paragraph, then I will write here p, and then I will write something. If I want to change something about body, entire body, rather than writing into a body, I will be writing here body under style. So this is how internal CSS work. So CSS, so it have a different property, which I can say it has a color property, then I can say font family property, which define the font, then font size property, which define the text size. So take an example. If I write here font family, okay, we do have font family. I remember a name called as Vardhana, and then we can write a font size of 300% something. Let's see if this work. Can you see? I will make it as pink. I don't know whether this pink color is working. Oh, it's working, but let's make it blue. So a color for all h1 tag is blue, font family is Vardhana, and font size is 300%. So this is how like CSS font work. Now there is something called CSS border, padding and margin. So we'll go one by one. So what does border mean, and what does padding means, and what does margin means? So let me write something here. So if I'm writing a paragraph P, and if I say that this is paragraph 1, this is paragraph 1, if I copy paste same thing, this is paragraph 2, this is paragraph 3. Okay, now let's see first thing about border. So I can remove this particular thing because we are using P here. So in this case, what I need to do, I have to write P, opening braces and closing braces. Then I have what I have to write, border. Now my border should be of 10 pixel, and it could be of which color, like I can say solid. I know this thing because I have already practiced. This particular thing should work. So let me refresh. Can you see? All the paragraph now have a border of 10 pixel. And what's the color? Solid powder blue color. Now border property defines a border around an HTML element. So this is an HTML element, and if you are writing border, then this element have a border. This element will have a border if I am using this particular border property. Now I am using another property called padding, and padding I am putting as a 20 pixel. Now let's see what will happen. Can you see? So what's padding is doing? Padding property define a space between text and the border. Text and the border. Initially there was no space. If I will make it as 10, you will see space between this two thing will get reduced. If I'll make it 50, you will see the space between the text and the border will get increased. So this is how actually it work, padding property. And then comes the margin property, and let me put it as a 10 pixel right now, and let's see what's happening. What happened? So margin property define a space outside the border. Outside the border it's defining. So if I write here 50, can you see space is getting, there are different space which are coming. So 50 pixel space is there. So CSS margin property define a space outside the border. If I am writing it as in 100, then you will see the space between the border and the margin will get changed. So this is the property of CSS border, padding and margin. Now there is another thing which we say CSS ID. Now that is a bit different thing. So again, we have seen inline, we have seen internal CSS, then now let's see CSS ID. So how actually it work. So let me remove this particular thing. Okay, now I'm giving it one ID paragraph. This first paragraph I'm giving an ID, and this ID name should be P1, and I'm giving this paragraph also an ID, and this should have an ID again P1. Now let me write something here. Let me make the color of, let me change the color to blue. So I will write P1. I will open this particular, I will write, this is the ID. So what we have written, we have given this two thing as a P1. So I'm writing P1, opening my braces or bracket, and then I'm writing color is equal to blue. Can you see this two paragraph color has been changed to blue? If I give this ID, the second paragraph ID as P3, and if I write something for P3, let me write hash P3, and then I will give a, I will open and close the braces, and I will give a color as red. Now let's see what will happen. Can you see? So depend on the ID which you are giving, you can change particular thing, or you can change the particular style of HTML. Same it works with class also. So if I give a class name as anything, so let me remove this particular thing. So ID, I believe now you have understand what does an ID do. I will remove all this thing, and then I will remove this particular thing. Okay, now we have seen that we have given ID to a particular paragraph. Now we are trying to give a class to particular paragraph. So class, and I can give a name to class as a whatever, like I can give my name also, but right now I'm giving error. This is my class name. Now I want to change this particular paragraph. If I want to change, then under style, what I need to write, paragraph, and then dot, and then class name. What is my class name? error. Then again opening, closing. Then if I want to change the color, blue, let's see what will happen. Or let me put it as a yellow, so that you should know that only first paragraph is going to get changed. Can you see? The first paragraph has been changed. If I'm giving same particular class to this paragraph also, then see, it's getting changed. So I hope now you understand what's the difference between class and ID. So basically an ID attribute, it's used to define a specific style for one special element, and when we talk about the class ID, it defined a style for a special type of element. So yeah, this is all about for today's lecture. We'll just revise what we have learned so far. So we have seen what does an CSS can do. We have talked about inline and external CSS. We have not talked about external one that we are going to discuss in CSS bootcamp sessions. But you should generally know like how inline and internal CSS work. Then we have seen how inline work for a particular or for only a single HTML element. Then we have seen internal, it work for complete HTML page. Then we have seen HTML, or we have seen CSS font, which have different property like color, font family, font size, and different kind of property. We have seen border, padding, and margin, and we have seen like different coding, how it work, what does a CSS border used to do, CSS padding used to do, CSS margin used to do. Then we have seen about CSS ID, if I used to give an ID to a particular paragraph, and how I can change all the paragraph which are assigned with this particular ID. Then we have seen CSS class, how to define it. So I have given a class name error to two particular paragraph and then defined a color red, and it generally look like this. So this was all about CSS introduction. You should know like basic of CSS in order to work with HTML. After this, like we'll be not talking about much about CSS. You will be knowing like if you are using a style tag or style property or attribute, different kind of color and other kind of thing, like whatever we are going to use, you will be knowing like how it's work. So this is the summary, like we have discussed about different kind of style, link, head, different property like font size, font family, color, border, padding, margin. But yeah, a basic introduction to CSS, like inline and internal CSS, external CSS also we are going to see, but in CSS bootcamp session. So yeah, this is all from my side. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. If you have any doubt, please reach out to me. Everything will be given in the description. Till that time, thank you so much. Keep learning, keep sharing.